evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thursday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy, and if we're having audio difficulties, we're having some issues with StreamYard this evening, which we normally don't have, but this will smooth out in just a few moments. You know, everything is via Wi-Fi now. I have another great show planned for your viewing and listening pleasure this evening. Tonight, we have a wonderful guest co-host. We have a gentleman who is a psychiatric nurse practitioner, as well as he had a radio show back in 1994 to 2001. So it'll be really good to talk to someone from the radio business. And he, just like myself, was a unique brand of radio and talk. And so I'm looking forward to welcoming him to the show this evening. Tongue-tied already. Also, tonight we have the honor and pleasure of Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas joining us tonight. She's here to talk to us about the importance of Black residents taking heed to the fact that Black homes matter. You'd be very surprised with the presentation she's going to give us tonight. And her mission is to help as many people as possible on the South and West sides to gain control of your property. And then later on in the show, it's Relationship Thursday. And you know, each and every week, I try to bring you some of the best dialogue ever surrounding relationships. And so tonight, we're going to meet the people behind the Body Electric School. Because we've been in lockdown, a lot of us have not had the emotional, romantic, and erotic connection that we wanted to have, either because you're not in a relationship and would be very fearful of going into a relationship, or you don't know how to relate to yourself. And so tonight we'll have that wonderful discussion with them. So let's bring our co-host in. He is Alan Tony Amberg, but I call him Tony because he's a really great guy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our co-host. How are you, sir? Good evening.
Hey, this is a dream come true. I have so missed being in front of the microphone. So it's just wonderful to be here.
Look how this works. It is a pleasure to have you here this evening. I'm excited. You've been on the books to be here for about a month now, and I'm really pleased. And so do me a favor, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are. I even understand you were bred to do this. Even your mom was in the world of therapy, correct?
Well, so oddly enough, I'm bred to do both of these things. So my father was a journalist, and as you said, Art, he was his own kind of brand of journalism. He was out there making noise in the world. He worked for the labor unions, and he was out there, for workers' rights and for all kinds of safety and the environment and things like that. So, I sort of followed his path for a little bit. I worked in theater. I did some things that were a little activist. Then I had a queer radio show for 7 years. And then I found myself in healthcare. So before I knew it, now I'm in my mother's business. And my mother was her own brand again. She wanted to be a doctor in World War II. But you know what? At that time, medical schools weren't taking women. So she became a nurse. Wow. And she went into this brand new field of psychiatric nursing. And at a time when women were kind of learning on the job and there weren't a lot of schools that gave degrees in nursing, 1946, she gets a bachelor's degree in psychiatric nursing. She goes on to be an educator and at one point the director of nursing of her hospital. And as I said, she was pretty special. So I got some of both of my parents in me, and here we are.
You do. Well, I'm glad to have you here. It's an honor and truly a pleasure. I'm sure we're going to have a great dialogue all evening long about a plethora of topics. So glad you're here. I do have a question. So when your mom graduated then and in the world of, psychotherapy, imagine how much things have changed since then or have things stayed the same even from that time period up to now?
Oh my God, have things changed?
Right.
So, we have to remember back in the late 40s and the early 30s, they were still doing lobotomies on people. They were cutting pieces of your brain out, right? So a lot of the ideas that we're starting to develop, we've really refined in a big way. So the other thing that makes me so excited is that Mom wanted to be a doctor. And if she had seen what psychiatric nurse practitioners can do today, we're not doctors, but we do a lot of the things that doctors do on a daily basis. I see really complicated people, people who have depression and they've had a heart transplant, or somebody who has schizophrenia and they've had a stroke. And so I see very, very complicated people at Northwestern every day. We've learned so much about how the brain has worked. Our meds have gotten progressively better and better. Not there yet. And what's the reason for that? The brain's the most complicated organ in the body. You know, we just can't flip a switch, because if we could flip a switch, well, we can. We have drugs that help you flip a switch. Cocaine, right? Crystal meth. But drugs that really make you feel better and make you functional and put you back in your life, we're getting closer and closer and closer to that. And it's such a joy. Psychotherapy, oh my God, so much better than it was. Now, a little known fact for you, a lot of people blame Freud for anti-gay animus or prejudice.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea was, oh, it's mom's fault, right?
Right.
You know, but actually Freud worked with a lesbian back in the 1920s. And what he concluded was that the problem that his patient was having was not the patient, it was the society around her and how they were reacting to her.
Yes.
Right? So here we are. I mean, and isn't that the problem for all of us in stigmatized groups, whether it's race or gender or so on, you know, that's where we need to be at, a society that lets us fully expand to be our most authentic selves. So,
Tony, you are a perfect guest, because we are 5 days away from Election Day. And you and I both know, you and I both know this has been the craziest election season I know of my lifetime. And just the, you know, people being so anxious. And I really cannot wait until November 4th gets here. So I want to find out, with it being 5 days away, you just saying what you said really means everybody needs to come together. So far, we've had 75 million people vote already in the 2020 election. What can you offer as words of advice to these people to calm down and relax? Because we're all on edge.
Okay. So first thing to remember is vote like your life depends on it. Because if the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, goes, I can tell you, in my world, that's millions of people who will lose their insurance for psychiatric and mental health care. And I remember those bad old days, because I was one of them. I was a small business owner. I had depression. I was controlled on antidepressants. And the time came where I was uninsurable because I took a medicine that kept me normal, right? So we're headed back there. So we got to vote like our lives depend on it. So should we be anxious about that? We should be anxious about that. But here's what we can't do. We gotta stop paying attention to all the screaming voices out there, because it's too much. We gotta limit ourselves to a little bit of news each day. Somebody really you trust, like Chat Daddy here, who puts a perspective on things and who reminds us that there's good in the world. You know, when earlier this year I was doing stuff at Northwestern in the lockdown, I was on NBC Nightly News a couple of times and some other TV stations. And you know what? They only want to talk about what's bad.
That's right.
All they want to talk about.
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
They would bring me on and they would talk about, oh my God, isn't it awful? And aren't doctors and nurses having nervous breakdowns and getting sick and dying? And you know what? And I would say, no, there's actually a lot of good things happening, and nurses and doctors rising to the challenge, people stepping forward. They're scared, but they're doing it. And you know what? That all got cut. It all got cut. I got to tell you, Art, they didn't want to hear the good stuff. So please pay attention to good stuff. Find good stories. Find people who inspire you. We need to do it right now.
I agree with you 100%. That's the one reason why I do this show 4 nights a week, is to keep this audience informed, to give people an option. You know, it's all in the delivery. It's all in the content. You know, I do give the numbers and say what it is, but I try to have the best guests on earth to help give those answers, to help soothe people, because people don't know what to do from one day to the next. And it's, really sad with the unemployment rate being the way it is. Housing is uncertain right now. We have the treasurer coming on just to talk about people losing their properties and just to regain the property. So I don't know. Encouragement is good, and that's what you do. I appreciate you for that, Tony. All right.
Yeah. Well, and I would have something that I would say to people. Meaningful activities really matter right now.
Yes.
Really matter. Sitting at home staring at the walls, worst thing we can all do. So if you have time right now and you want to do some phone banking for the election, that's a way of making a positive contribution. But if your block club needs you, if your church has a ministry calling people at home to make sure that they're okay, elderly people who need somebody just to talk to, there's a million ways we can get involved. My block, my hood, my community.
Yes.
There are plenty of places where we need you to do something. And when you have something to do, you feel better.
That's right. Very good. All right. Well, with that being said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the United States has logged in 9 million COVID-19 cases as of Thursday, just hours after reporting a single day record of 80,622 infections. For the first time, the U.S. has crossed the 80,000 threshold since the start of the pandemic. And this is the third time in a week that the daily case record have broken all data shown. So, Tony, that means this number is not only rising across the country, but we know the state of Illinois now is in great danger. And so this has been a lot. Let me give this number real quick, and then you and I can talk about this. Illinois public health officials announced today 6,363 newly confirmed cases of COVID-19, a new daily high for the state. There were additional 56 deaths, and we are very sorry about those. That brings the statewide total to 395,458 confirmed cases and 9,675 deaths. Boy, I feel almost like Dr. Nzike. When you give those numbers every day, it is just mind-boggling, Tony.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There's another diagnosis out there that is overwhelming our country too. So it's a very scientific jargon diagnosis, Art. So I'm going to try and say it in a way that your listeners can understand.
Okay.
Right? You're being overwhelmed by an epidemic of stupid and selfish. Can I just say it? Stupid and selfish.
Say it again, brother. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, I'm sorry, who are these yahoos? And this is my personal freedom. I saw a woman in the building where my office was. I've moved offices. I'm now doing my own private practice in another office downtown or by telemedicine.
Congratulations.
But there's this poor security guard saying to this woman, "Ma'am, the law is you have to have a mask in this building. Please put on your mask." She's trying to go up to one of the doctor's offices. She's like, and she's giving him lip, right? Yeah. And then finally, she pulls this mask out of her purse, puts it on her face, gets in the elevator, and I can see from my angle, the security guard can't, that the minute she gets in the elevator out of his view, she takes it back off. So the diagnosis is not just COVID, it's stupid and selfish.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
right?
is. Do your part.
Right. Do our part. It's not that hard. We're coming into winter. The air's cold. Cover your face,
Yes. Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Oh, I thought I had lost you there for a minute. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect. Well, then this also ties in to our story we were talking about just before we came on the show. Congratulations to the LA Dodgers on winning the World Series. But their popular veteran third baseman, Justin Turner, he tested positive, was removed off of the field. After they won, he came back out was near everybody, no mask on, kissed his wife and everything. And, Tony, how reckless. As you said, why are people so stupid like that?
Well, and the thing I feel bad about is I feel bad about all the kids who are watching this, because children, and for that matter, adults, but children look up to celebrities and sports figures as people who are supposed to do the right thing, right? So he is so happy that he is willing to risk his teammates and his wife,
Right.
right? And that's what matters. What matters is that he's happy. Never mind that. And by the way, never mind their parents, and never mind the other people he comes in contact with, because we know this disease doesn't just stop with us, right? If we get it and then we go out, maybe it doesn't hit us so hard. I can tell you, I had COVID.
Right. And I was hoping you would share that journey with us, because you did. And I'm so sorry. How was it? And how did you recover? And do you have any, residual things going on as the effect of it?
I have residual annoyance at people who are selfish and stupid. That's the main lingering effect.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind that there are people who I had a patient say to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe there's any such thing as COVID," after I got back. And I said, "No, I assure you, I had COVID." "Oh, no, that's maybe you had the flu, but you didn't have COVID." What is this? Who are these people? But so here's my journey. It's pretty simple. So I don't know where I got it. I mean, I worked at Northwestern, but I didn't go into any patient rooms with people who had COVID. I followed the masking protocol. I did everything I was supposed to do, right? There were people at Northwestern who got it, but because I moved around from unit to unit to unit, I don't know if there was somebody who gave it specifically to me. I actually kind of doubt it, to tell you the truth, because nobody I came in contact with got sick. I worked at a community clinic. A few people there got sick, but again, I wasn't in direct contact with them for a number of days. So it's actually probably just as likely I picked it up somewhere like the grocery store or something. But my husband and I got sick the very same day.
So, Tony, if you don't mind me inquiring just a little bit, how did you feel? What made you know something was wrong? Did it feel as if you had a cold or the flu, or did you have something just drastic happen to let you know you had COVID?
Well, I was feeling kind of odd, and my temperatures were a little bit off, not a lot off, but a little tiny bit off. And I called into work to ask what I should do. And they said, "Well, you don't have symptoms that are strong enough." And I said, "I think I'm just going to stay home." And that night, that Tuesday, May 18th, 19th, something like that, I suddenly spiked a fever. I still didn't think it was COVID because, I've been pretty careful with all the protocols and everything. But the fever went on, and each night it got worse. It finally topped out at 103.9. So that was Tuesday. By Saturday, I was up to 103.9. I was having chills. The coughing started. My husband got fevers that started with fevers the same night I did. He started getting sicker and sicker and sicker. By Sunday, I felt like I was drowning. I went to the hospital. I was sort of on the cusp of whether they wanted to admit me or not. I wanted to come home to be with him. Mm-hmm. And then Monday, I couldn't do it. I was having trouble breathing. So I went to the hospital. They admitted me. I was there 6 days. Fortunately, I just needed a little bit of oxygen. I'm not one of these people who suffered terribly. I had COVID pneumonia. And what was really hard was every time I changed position, I would be racked with coughing. And, like it would go on 15, 20 minutes or more, with these horrendous coughing, heart racing, oxygen levels would drop. So And then, they gave me whatever treatment they had. And by the end of the week, I was off the oxygen and I came home. Now, my husband had a completely different illness. He didn't have he had fevers, but he didn't have the coughing. And for both of us, the fever stopped. He lost the sense of taste and smell. He stopped eating. He couldn't sleep. He lost a great deal of weight. He became very weak. So it was they were pretty different illnesses in some ways. But I came home and I wound up taking care of him.
Wow.
And, but the good news is, here's what I got from it. What I got from it, one is, first of all, this is nothing to mess around with. Because like so many of us, we live in an apartment building. I mean, so that illness wouldn't just stop with us. That would stop with the people who got in the elevator after us.
That's
with
right.
The people who touched the door handles that we touched, and so on and so forth. We made arrangements if we used the laundry room to go down, and it was closed off to everybody else. And we disinfected after we left, carefully, bleached all of the stuff the first week or so to keep the infection down. But let me tell you what I got from it. And that is tremendous gifts. I found that I stayed in touch with people every day. Sometimes, and it occupied several hours a day. There were people I talked to every day. I talked to my sisters. When my husband was sick, I talked to his family and friends. Then he started talking to his own family and friends. I talked to my friends. I talked to clergy. Tremendous gifts of people who I became very close to in this period. Tremendous gifts from my colleagues. Tremendous love. And I just feel so very, very lucky. And my higher vision for all of you out there is that no matter what you're facing, that you don't turn in, because when we reach out, the love of people and of God and the beauty around us, it is here.
Yes.
It is here.
Amen. I agree. Yes, you are right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. And I'm so glad you and your partner both are doing well, and just the precautions you had to take. You definitely had to inform your other neighbors that you guys had tested positive, correct?
Well, what we did was we informed the building management.
Okay.
And we worked out what the protocol would be to keep everybody safe.
Wow.
They informed people that there were residents in the building who had this,
Right.
but that this was all under control.
Very good.
They gave us our privacy. It was like,
Good.
my neighbor across the hall knew because he was kind enough to take the dog.
Oh, nice.
We were too weak to walk the dog at various points.
Oh, no.
So if you have a friend who's sick, do me a favor, go take their dog.
Yes. Yes.
Take the dog, shampoo the dog because COVID's very susceptible to soap and water, and take the dog.
Yes.
You get some love without having to own a dog. They get the relief of not having to walk the dog.
That's true. Yes. Very good. All right. Well, did you hear the news that said, France is now on a lockdown? Before they prepared for the lockdown, but this time they had roughly 24 hours, I think, and they have been restricted from doing a lot of different things. Rumor has it that the United States would be on a lockdown again, but because of the election just being days away, we are already in financial ruins. That's the only reason why the United States is not gone into a lockdown. Do you think we may go into another lockdown, Tony?
Well, I think the example we've seen in some countries is that a surgical lockdown did it. In New Zealand, they went to a surgical lockdown and they have no cases, right?
No.
Vietnam, no cases. Taiwan, no cases, right? Sweden, they did what we did, which is they kept everybody. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for your kind
Mm-hmm.
comment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't close stuff down very much. They thought, oh, we'll let people get sick. And what happened? Their economy wasn't spared anything, but a whole lot more people got sick and died.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the theory in Germany and France right now is if they do a surgical strike and stop the disease in its tracks, then they can reopen again because they were much more open than we are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that we've seen this in other states. I mean, first we saw it in New York, and then the people in Texas and Florida and Arizona, they went through their round of selfish and stupid, and they got overwhelmed with cases, and they went, oh my God, what if we put on masks? What if we shut things down for a little while? And the disease came back under control. And what happened in Illinois? It started out in the downstate. People didn't believe they could get it. They didn't think it could come to them.
And that's what happens. You're absolutely right. My heart goes out to the restaurant industry because as of tomorrow night, no more indoor dining will be taking place, only outdoor dining. And Tony, I don't know. I mean, I love al fresco dining when the weather is apropos, but I don't know if I'd be able to enjoy a good meal under a tent right now. And here's the deal. A lot of the restaurants are saying BYOB, bring your own blanket. Are you down for it or what do you think? BYOB, bring your own blanket is the new saying now.
I also feel terrible for the restaurant industry. But, a lot of the financial ruin is, again, if we follow the lead of some of our allies, right?
Yes.
Germany's gone into lockdown and they are supplying 75% of all the wages of the people in these industries that are being shut down.
Yeah.
And that's what they did in the spring too. And we did it for a while and the economy wasn't in ruins. And then all of a sudden, the Republicans don't care. Lose your unemployment? They don't care. Lose your And in these other countries, they don't have employer-sponsored health care. What a stupid idea that my health care should depend on the health of my employer. That's stupid. So now everybody is being thrown onto the public purse. And we're, anyway, preaching to the choir, I know, I'm sorry. But
you are, that's all right. Look, the choir's sitting there like, well, amen. Yes, you're right. You are right.
So I feel terrible for the restaurant industry. They need help. But actually, so do our teachers and firefighters and other city workers, because Congress has, and this administration, speak of voting like your life depends on it, has said they're not going to provide any aid to democratically run cities and states. Let them fall apart. Well, that's lovely.
Well, I don't know, but I want to remind everyone we are 5 days away from the big vote. The race to the White House is taking place November 3rd. Please do not try to mail in any ballot at this particular point. You can drop them off at early voting places. Do not mail it. Do not. You can even take it in on election day and drop it in the box. But make sure you guys vote. Do the duty. We're not telling you who to vote for. We're just telling you to make sure you guys vote. It's very important. Right, Tony?
Oh, heck. You are much nicer than I. I'll tell you who to vote for. You go out there and you find a candidate who's on your side, who cares about you having a roof over your head and cares about having food on your table and cares about you having health care and about getting this virus under control and not sitting there and yammering, oh, we're turning the corner. Oh, it's going away. Oh, it's not so bad, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so bad if you got a helicopter who could whisk you off to Walter Reed Hospital and give you every experimental treatment on the planet, but that's not us in the real world. That's not the patients I serve down in Chatham. So
No.
I'm going to go one step further, if I might, Chat Daddy, and that is, please tell your friends in Mississippi. There is a great African American candidate running for governor. It is the most African American state in the country per capita.
It,
You know,
yes, it is.
we
It
need
is.
votes in Alabama. Raphael Warnock, who's the pastor of what was Dr. King's church in Atlanta, is got a real chance at being senator in Georgia. We got to get everybody to turn out. Call your family, call your friends. What help do they need to make those votes?
That's right. Very good. All right. Well, all right. Well, Tony, every night on the show, I forgot to tell you to bring a mask, but every night on the show, we remind people what they need to do. So I'll take you through the drill of what we do on here. We tell everyone to please make sure you grab a mask, put your mask on. See, I make sure they match my outfit. Put it on. Here's the proper way: over the nose and mouth. Right, Tony? Tell them how to
Yes,
properly put that mask on. Over the nose and mouth. It should not be down here. It should not be down here. It should be over your nose and mouth. Also, we want to remind you guys to sanitize. Soap and water is the best. If you don't have soap and water, all you have to do is a little hand sanitizer. There you go. Tony, put your hand out so I can give you some hand sanitizer. All right, there you go. Oh, there you go. All right, rub them together. And
don't forget the nails.
That's right.
Bacteria and viruses live under the nails.
Yes.
So when you have a tip from those of us who wear masks every day on the job, right? If you wear glasses, just put them a little further down the bridge of your nose. They'll be less likely to fog.
Okay? Really? Okay. Because it's driving me crazy.
For your comment, Romelda.
Yes, it drives me crazy when my glasses fog up, and I use all of this anti-fog stuff, and it doesn't work. Yes. So, and another thing, social distance, 6 feet, 6 feet, tell people to get off you, move out the way, all that great stuff. And as Tony said, and as I always say on this show, if you're not feeling well, do not go to work. Tony, what we say on this show, if you're not feeling well, don't take your ass to work. That's the way we have to say it on here. And that's being nice. So yes, if you're not feeling well, call your employer, tell them I'm not feeling great. And I guarantee you, they will not say a word. They will want you to try to get yourself together. Correct, Tony?
So speaking of voting, there is one candidate in one party. I'm not saying which one it is, but there is one that is in favor of all employers having to provide paid sick leave and paid family leave. There's another party that doesn't believe in any of that.
I think it would be this party.
Paid sick leave, paid family leave.
I think it would be the Golden Bidens. I think that might be that party.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Versus the lucky chumps. I mean Trumps. Trumps. Yes. So yes, these are novelty cereals. So you are right. There is one party that does believe in those sick days. You're right. All right. Very good. Okay. Tony, are you having a good time so far?
You know what? This is just like being back at home. You've made me so comfortable. I feel so welcome. And I'm so grateful to those of you in the audience who have said nice things. It's just feels good to be back on doing this.
Well, very good. You'll have to come back and hang out with us again and again. And, you know, as I said, I love doing this, keeping people informed. I have a really great audience and it's growing each and every day. And it's people like you who come on and just share wonderful information with people.
Well, and the love.
Yes.
It's the love you show them and it's the love we show each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's the spirit, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Because love and hope is the most powerful medicine in the universe.
Yes, it is. I agree with you 100%. You need both of those, love and hope, in order to make it in this world. Well, Tony, are you ready to bring on our first guest this evening?
You bet. I love her.
I do too. I really do. I've always loved her. I thought she's an amazing person, and she has this huge campaign to try to get people to do the right thing. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Currently, there are 37,000 delinquent properties countywide in Cook County that are subject to the 2018 annual tax sale. And believe it or not, most of these places are in the Black community. And Tony, you're a big fan of the South Side. I heard you mention Chatham, and that's where I am. And so we've got to do whatever we can to save these beautiful neighborhoods.
That's right. Because what we know is that housing is healthcare. People who have unstable housing have a hard time taking care of their health care. So I can't wait to hear what Maria has to tell us, because I know she'll have some ideas.
We are waiting for her to get in the backstage in just a second. Wait, she might be there. Let's see. Good evening. Is she there yet? I don't know. Let's see. We're still waiting on her, so we'll wait just a minute. All right. So Tony, what do you do for hobbies and fun and all that great stuff?
So for hobbies, I eat my husband's amazing cooking. He has been making good use of lockdown by becoming a fabulous cook. What else do we do for fun? I do yoga. And one of the things that's so great now is because of things like Zoom. You can really take advantage of yoga, which is great for anxiety and great for your body. You do it right in your living room. You can do it in your skivvies if you want.
Yes, you can.
There's a word I've heard from a long time. And there are organizations that are offering classes like for donation. Very good friend of mine started an organization called Yoga Care. You can log into those yoga classes for a donation, whatever you can afford.
Nice. That's beautiful.
So that's lovely. We got to get outside and enjoy the weather while we still can. And there are some beautiful colors on the trees right now. And what else do I do for fun? What do I do for fun? I like to read. Oh, we've been watching reruns of this show. Have you seen Jane the Virgin?
I have. We'll have to talk about that because guess who is joining us? Guess who we are ready to bring on? I'm excited about this. She'll be here in just a second. But Jane the Virgin, that's interesting. Is that one of your guilty pleasures?
Oh man, it is such a guilty pleasure. It is a soap opera that makes fun of soap operas. It's just goofy.
It is. It is. It really
need
is.
Stuff like that. We need to laugh.
We do. Yes, because right now things are very serious, and people are just so, as we've been saying on the show, stressed out and worried and anxiety, and so things that just give people a good way to laugh. Pam said yes, a good show. She likes that show. Yes, very good. All right, well, here's our guest. She should be here in just a second. All right, we are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show. Tony and I both said we just love and adore her. Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Yay!
What's up, kids?
How are you?
Maria,
it is what it is.
You probably don't remember me, but back in the days, I had a show called Lesbo Gay Radio, and you used to come on our show every so often, and I loved talking to you.
Well, thank you. I remember. You're big time yogi too, right?
You know what? I'm a big time wish I were yogi.
This is my yoga room. You're watching this from my yoga room.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Are you a yogini?
Yeah, big time. See, that's you can't see in here. This is goofy. But that's my mirror over there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I have, it's like over there. And then I have a special carpet that's like a plastic carpet that they have like in gyms. So I can jump around in here and do stuff. What a world, huh? What a clown show.
Who knew 2020 would be the year of a pandemic, a global shutdown, us doing things like this now? How have you been doing during this pandemic?
You know what? I wish that people who had my cell would quit calling me and quit complaining. You know what I mean? It's enough. It's bad. But you know what? I mean, my grandparents went through World War II. I mean, they had their houses burned down in Greece. I mean, the Greeks went through 400 years of occupation. I mean, You'll get through this, you spoiled rotten brat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Shut
Right.
up.
Right.
What? You know, I think too, I'm like past senior citizen now. So, you know, riding out into the sunset anyway. Most of my friends are dying, you know. Get over it. You know, it's
Yeah.
going to be 2 more years. Yeah, it might be 2 more years. Yeah. I think it's going to be 2 more years, but I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, you know, except
Well,
quit complaining.
right.
Find
Right.
something
Just
to
live
do,
life.
like I did. Start a television, start a radio show, or do something interesting. You know, go to the
Well,
French pastry store, learn how to knit or make a croissant, but shut up. You know, shut up. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of people fighting. I mean, every day it's you're Asian, you're black, you're white, you're this, you're that. I don't stop it. You know, everything's going to get better after the election. Everything's going to get worse. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I said too. I said the
I don't
same
care
thing
who
too.
wins. I mean, people are so angry. When I tell you, I mean, they're just bubbling over with hatred and mean and, you know, get a life, boy. You know, I put out a video. I put like a video out of me at this Polish church because this whole month is Polish Heritage Month. So I go to this Polish church and I get called up and I make this speech about this baby that's crying in the back of the room and the baby's the future and this baby and these altar boys aren't the people like ripping up Michigan Avenue. So I throw this thing up on Facebook. I get 5,000 hits in less than 24 hours. I hear knock, knock, knock on my office door. Somebody comes in and says, you got to take that video down. I'm like, really? I said, yeah. I said, why did I take that video down? You used the word hoodlums, and it's a racist video. I said, you know, you need to get now. I said, back it up.
I knew exactly what she said.
You know what I mean? You know what, Chet Daddy? I mean, really. I mean, you can't even look at somebody the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody called me. Who called me? Somebody from one of the councilors called me. He says, I want to talk to you. I said, you know what? I don't think we should be talking. He said, why not? I said, because you've been doing some pretty crazy things in the world. Those people running your country. And I don't want to get caught talking to your ass. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to say that I'm supporting all that craziness that you guys are into. You know what that guy said to me? I said, you're just a little guy at the end of your government, like running around here in Chicago representing them. He said, I understand exactly how you feel. You know what that guy told me? He said, I have to, if you decide you want to talk to me, I got to call the United States State Department to make sure that you're allowed to talk to me. I have to report that you're going to talk to me. I said, do me a favor. Quit talking to me. I don't need my phones tapped. You know what I mean? I don't need people following me. I'm just like, I just had knee surgery, you know?
Oh, wow.
With that stuff. I'm going to throw my walker at you, you know?
So Maria, you know, I think you said something really important. And, you know, all kidding aside, I think one of the things that is really helpful is when we take a step back and just consider that we don't know each other's stories, right? And that we so often size each other up based on, you know, what we see without knowing the stories. Like, for instance, you know, if I looked at you and I know how amazing you've been and how successful, I wouldn't know that you came from a family where your parents, I assume, fled Greece or was forced to leave Greece after having their homes burned down.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know that if you looked at my family tree, that within living memory, you know, as people look at me and what they see is what they think is a white male face. And they don't realize that my family tree in living memory has many, 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 many branches snuffed out by Nazi white supremacists. I got many, many, many dead bodies in my family.
No,
And so the point is that when we stop to learn each other's stories, the commonality of it, is it really impossible that somebody who's had that many members of their family die or their parents got burned out couldn't understand the story of somebody who's living in a neighborhood where there's a lot of violence and poverty and racism? Is it really so ridiculous that we can't understand each other? I really believe with all my heart we can understand each other if we give ourselves a chance.
I want to show you this. It's a spoon. You see this spoon?
Wait, yep, let me pan out. Yes.
Spoon. So in 1970, my grandfather decided that he was going to go back to Greece after not talking to anybody in the family for 60 years. He was here and he left there, I don't know, when he was 12 or 13 or whatever. So he finally gets to the United States. So I decide that I'm going to go back with him. So we go to this Greek island and we go to this little city, and he says, I want to talk to George Papadakis, because that was our name. So we get to this, and so this guy in the city says, well, there's a relative alive, but he is a distant cousin. So the cousin comes. And so now the cousin's sitting there. And this is weird because now you see somebody after 50 years, you look like the guy you're talking to and you don't know who he is, right? So now we're talking about this guy. So so my grandfather says, where's my brother? And my uncle, this uncle says, well, he's dead. He was a priest. He's dead. He says, where's my other brother? He's dead. Where's my other brother? He's dead. He said, well, what happened to him? He said, well, they all got killed, and they were eating in their house, and the house got burned down during the war. Killed them all. They were all priests, and they wanted to make sure they killed all the priests. So I say, Genius says, I want to see the house that got burned down. So we go to the house, and it's just rubble, and I start talking stones. And I get to the bottom of it, and this is the spoon they were cooking with. In my bedroom, I got the iron that they were ironing with. The women were ironing. Wow. And then I got in this room. It's weird that you're talking about this, because in this room that we're sitting, there's a bunch of tools from the kitchen, and I find all this stuff. And I got to tell you, it was a wrenching kind of experience. This is the first time I've really ever told this on TV or radio or whatever. But so, you know what? It's very hard to talk about this stuff because everybody thinks you're a nutcase if you do talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're not well, it's okay to talk about the Holocaust Museum. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay because it's a full museum. But nobody knows that during that time, hundreds of thousands of Greeks were killed, but nobody talks about it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So there are certain white ethnic groups that are pure white, meaning nothing's ever happened to them. You know what I mean? And here's my grandfather sitting there because all these people were killed and I'm finding spoons. And I'm like, if I tell anybody this story, they're going to think I'm a nutcase. So you just don't talk about it because there are so many other groups and people who've gotten to the front of crowd about what's happening to them. And Greeks, they just come here. They work 25 hours a day. They have 4 kids. The wife stays home, makes spinach pie. They barely learn to speak English. And then their kids go to college. They become doctors. And you don't talk about anything that happened in the past because you might not become a doctor at the hospital you want. So you just shut up. Go home every day. Eat your spinach pie, that your mother made for you, and call it a day. Go to sleep. Get married. You have 4 kids. And repeat, 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 repeat.
Wow.
Make sure that all your kids learn to speak Greek.
I learned a lot about the Greek culture tonight. I didn't know that. I didn't.
Alan, so I'm going to tell you something funny. So Melody from WVON says to me, your Black Lives Matter show is really catching on. She said, Maria, I bought a television station and you would be good to come on and do some TV. I said, you know what, Melody, you need to educate people. I said, I'll tell you what, I will do. She says, give me 6 half-hour shows, which I'm going to start pretty soon. I said, I will do a half hour of Polish in Chicago, Romanians in Chicago, Bulgarians in Chicago. I said, you don't even know what that is. But give me the chance to show you the richness and diversity of this town by letting me, can I show you the Germans who have a prince once a year and the guy's got an 8-foot feather coming out of his hat? I said, can I take you to Lincoln Avenue and show you the Niedersachsen Club? I said, can I take you into a Polish church and show you the soldiers dressed in costume from Zakopane Mountains and into a school where the kids don't speak any English. All they do is speak Polish. She said, you know what, Maria? I think we need that. I think we need somebody to tell us about the history of various groups. I said, I'm in. So, hey, Chat Daddy.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm going to send you my tapes.
Please do. Please do. I would love to. That's congratulations. I think that would be perfect for you.
You know what? My website's up in 126 languages. Do you know how many people have downloaded in foreign languages on my website?
How many?
18,000.
Wow.
I have 20,000 Arabic downloads. Get this. I have 14,000 Bulgarian downloads. I mean, people don't even know like Bulgarians exist. The Romanian counselor came to my office. He goes, I can't believe you're up in Romanian. I said, how can I not be up in Romanian? I got 14,000 people who came to the website and downloaded in Romanian.
I love it.
I think that, you know, there are a lot of these people. I mean, they're just like under the woodwork. You don't know that they exist. When I do a press conference, I can get 30 Chinese media outlets and like 15 Polish media outlets and not blink. When I do something in Polish, it's like they don't read the Trib and the Sun-Times and the Daily Herald and Cranes. They don't even know how to spell those newspapers. They have their own newspapers, their own radio stations, their own television stations, and that is all they care about. And you know what? That's who I cater to. That's who I cater to. I cater to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these little ethnic and little racial papers, because that's what people read. They read neighborhood stuff that tells nice stories about, you know, the kid went back to Poland and played with a donkey for a week. You know what I mean? Something like that. Whatever.
Right.
How to make peas in the mountain with his grandmother. Instead of, you got shot on Michigan Avenue and then you got slapped on State Street. It's enough, you know? It's just enough. It's enough.
It is. Well, Treasurer, I do want to talk to you real quick about your wonderful Black Houses Matter and how you came up with this wonderful campaign and what can we do with this campaign to help?
Okay. So Black Houses Matter, you know, in March, everybody calls and everybody's going to do like, you know, what's politically correct. And we're all going to go march. Hey, Pappas, you want to come march? I'm like, no, my marching days are over. I'm not marching. I said, what are you? I want to know what you're going to do when you march. And we're going to march. I said, what are you marching about? So they said, we're going to march about police brutality. And I said, what's the outcome of the march? We're just doing it. If we do it, then we're going to have an outcome. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do something that has an outcome. I got a tax sale list with 58,000 homes. And 75% of them are in Black neighborhoods. 75% of what's going to sale is in an African American neighborhood. They're like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. I said, you know what? Let me show you about how bad this is. So there's Black suburbs and there's Black wards. Okay. So Carrie Austin's ward has about 1,800 homes. And Harvey has 4,600 about to be sold. Okay?
Wow.
Tom Tunney on the lakefront has 35. Okay? And
you do the math.
Glenview has 2. So I said, Black Houses Matter, because there is a big discrepancy here between what is getting sold and who even knows it's getting sold. So I programmed my computer to look at what's getting sold. And then now I go on WBON every weekend and I show that this person whose house is being sold didn't get their homeowners exemption for 4 years, that's 2,000. There's senior exemption for 4 years, that's another 2,000. And a senior freeze if they're making under 65,000, both people in the house, that's another. I owe them 6,000, and they're on. I've got 18,000 African American, 75% houses on this list that owe me less than $1,000. But if you go to my computer, if you go to cookcountytreasurer.com and you put your address in, you're going to find out that this person who's about to have their house taken from them, I owe them money. Really? Why? Because we haven't educated people about being a homeowner and what it means. I mean, people don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, do I have an exemption? Am I a senior? Am I making how much money am I? They just don't do it. They're trying to figure out how to get through the day. So that's how Black Houses Matter gets started. And now Reverend Harris, who started Black Houses Matter, calls me up because this thing's like taking off. The Urban League's involved. He's involved. Like, hey, Pappas, how do I tie up with Black Houses Matter? I'm like, we're going to link you to our site and you're going to help me find these other 38,000 people because we send out certified notices and then they think it's like a Bed Bath & Beyond coupons. It's like thrown in the garbage. They don't know. So it's like, how do you educate people about what it is that matters? And I'm telling you, Black Lives Matters. You don't have a life if you don't have a house. So that's my premise.
Wow.
So I'm like, you know, get your teeth into something like this house. Get your teeth into something like this house, which matters. So I go on WVON every week and like I have like 85-year-old people who call and give me their address because they don't have computers and they've got money coming back. I mean, I did 2 people last week. One guy got 300, another one got 600. You know what? That lady was 86 years old. You know what she's going to do with the 600? She's going to Disney World. She's never been to Disney World. She wants to go to Disney World before she dies. Her husband's dead. She doesn't have to give him half. She's out of here. I said, you go, girl. You go. The other guy, I want them to tell me what they're going to do with their money. The other guy got 300 back. His wife was sitting there. She was incapacitated. I said, what are you going to do with it? She said, I'm going to put it in the bank before he could open his mouth. I said, who takes it to the bank? He said, he takes it to the bank. I said, I bet on the way somewhere you're going to stop and do something with it before it gets to the bank. He said, exactly. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, I mean, every week I try and make somebody happy by giving them money and getting their house off this list. You know, it's not easy for me. I had to cancel 674 events that I was supposed to go to between now, March, and Christmas. And I'm a people person. I go out, I hug, I kiss, I slobber all over you. There's nothing to go to. Trust me. There's kind of nothing to go to. So I said, you know what? I'm doing talk radio. I'm going to start a television program. And that's what I'm doing. Because there's nothing.
Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Down again. If they shut this city down again, I'll find something to do. That dreadlock cowboy, that crazy boy, he got himself in trouble. I was going to go out and ride the horse with him until he took off on the expressway. You know, I'll do anything, you know. Now, Sonia, that helped set this up, she and I are going out to 25 business owners on Chicago Avenue on Tuesday. We're going to the Remus Chicken. We're going to the Travel. We're just going to go. You know, I bring people into the office that can get me out of my office. So if there's not an event now, I want to find somebody that I've never talked to before that can distribute my brochures that say Black Houses Matter to drive more people to that website. And you can't do it if you take out an ad in the Chicago Tribune or the Sun. You can't, because nobody reads the paper. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then there are people who don't have social media because you're trying to contact these, you know, whatever. So I say life is about one-on-one. So I go out and find people. And I know a lot of people because everybody calls me to complain. It's my life since March. Every Greek restaurant owner in the entire world has called me. I had an absolutely miserable day. They are calling me and carrying on like a bunch of banshees. They just want to know, which lawyer I think they should pick so that they could sue the world. They're shutting down their Yitos places and Greek islands and Santorini and Boo and Da and
All of
Capri.
my favorite places. Oh,
And they're like,
I
we're
love those places.
food and it's terrible and you like, right. You keep it open. If that's what you're going to do because you're Greek and you ain't closing, then you keep it open and you're going to lose your license and they're going to come and arrest you. And you know what they all say? I don't care. Well, okay. Keep selling your and stay open. Lose your license. Go to jail. And don't call me to bond you out.
That's right. Treasurer, we love you. You've got to come back and hang out again. You do. We love you. We really do. Tony, anything you want?
Let me tell you something. Don't come into that county building. It is an absolute clown show. So, wait a minute. One day, when they started this thing, they take your temperature and then they ask you 6 questions. Do you blink? Do you cough? Do you sneeze? They weren't going to let me in because I said, excuse me. She said, where's your ID? I said, I didn't bring it. She said, well, you're not going in that building. I said, please. I said, that's my office. She said, I don't care. I don't care who you are. You're not going in. I'm like, okay, hold on. So I dial upstairs. I call my chief of staff downstairs. I said, bring a photocopy of my driver's license. They won't let me in the building. I'm like, seriously? So now, think about it. Now I've got my license. They stopped the revolving door. Have you ever tried to open up a 300-pound door at the county building and you're 72 years old? I could barely open it up. I said to the guy this morning, he said, excuse me, do you get paid like to also open the door? He says, no, I just stand here. I said, really? You just stand here and look at my ID? I said, I'm 72 years old. You're not going to open that door for me? I said, I just had knee surgery. I got to open that door by myself. He said, yeah, open it yourself, lady. So I'm telling you, don't come down there. After you get in, they take your temperature. Look at my hair. She says, ma'am, move your hair so I can see your forehead. I'm like, seriously? What kind of machine is that? What kind of machine is that? I mean, like, by the time you get to where you're going, you're like, by the time I get up to the second floor, Daddy, I am like, seriously, I'm in a bad mood. I'm like, get me a triple espresso. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's enough. So well, I'm not taking down my Polish tape either because they said you sound like a racist at that church. I'm like, seriously? Me got a honorary black minister's license, and you think I'm a racist? You call me a racist. I'm going to whoop your ass.
Well, the one thing I will say about you is you've always been outspoken. You've always been on the right side of proving things to be right and fair. And we appreciate you for that. You're an icon and a treasure. I didn't even get to tell you how you and I originally met. You used to fly on ATA when I was a flight attendant. And that's how I met you. You were one of my most gracious passengers ever. But that's how you and I originally met when I was a flight attendant.
Did I give you that?
No, honey. You gave me fabulous hair. You always had your carry-on and you put it neatly away. You were never a problem and you were always great to talk to. And that was way before I even knew who you were like that. I used to be your flight attendant. That's right. On some of your ATA flights. That's right.
Yeah. I was always going to Florida and West Virginia. And I mean, just
anything
to get out of here. I got to tell you, Chad Daddy, Ellen, I'm really sad. I gave 52 years of my life to build this city up. And what's happening is it's sad. I mean, I look out my window and it is sad. It is sad. And I'm sad for the young people who live here because there is an absolute sense of hopelessness about what's going on here, a sense of hopelessness. So I hope we find ourselves. I hope we get these stores back open. I hope that I just got, you know what? I went on eBay about 6 weeks ago and I'm trying to buy one of the power plates, you know, that machine that like vibrates like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like one of those machines that if you stand on it, your muscles tighten up. So, you know, like where it's getting like falling apart, it gets tighter, right?
Yes.
Every 10 minutes, I don't know what this crazy Bill Gates is doing, but every 10 minutes I get an announcement about some machine that's for sale all over the world. And I'm like, I would turn this off, but it's amazing to me that I went on the internet 3 days ago and I looked up meniscus surgery of the knee. I had some guy from India call me yesterday to try and sell me on my private cell phone some kind of balm for my knee. I
Oh
said,
my God.
are you for real? I said, you tell Bill Gates to leave me alone. And I hung up on him. But
Oh
this is
Lord.
well, once you go to something, they like follow you. Do you know what I mean? Really?
Yeah, they do. They trace you. Well, Treasurer, you're going to have to come back and hang out with us one evening. We love you. We have to move on. It's Relationship Thursday. We're getting ready to talk about pleasure.
Real pleasure.
Yeah, like pleasure, like massage, like touch, like erotica.
Yes, and trigger point therapy. Yes.
Yes, we love you. Ladies and gentlemen, Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, an icon, a legend, a treasure here in Chicago. And we really do appreciate you being here. Tony, anything you want to say to her real quick?
Folks, I want to say to our audience, you heard it here. Go get your money. Go to her site.
Yes,
get your money.
Get your money, baby. Get your money.
And again, tell your friends because all those hundreds of media outlets that the treasurer talked about, they're going away too. I mean, we just like my radio show, there wasn't enough to keep it in business after 7 years. Well, almost all the gay papers are gone now. Windy City Times is gone now. Lots of independent media is going away. So if you want this news to get out, tell your friends, figure out how you can help get the word out and help people get their houses back. Maria Pappas, so good to see you. God bless.
We love you, darling. See you later. We love you. Happy holiday. All right, we love you. All right, Tony, brother. You did a great job. Oh, did I lose you? You're doing a great job.
Oh my God, thank you. I mean, I'm gonna get my group back.
We go. What did you say? Huh?
I said, am I getting my groove back, Chat Daddy?
Look, Tony, you good at this. You might have to come stop by at least once or twice a month and do this with me.
Oh no, don't say that if you don't mean it, Art.
I don't stand by. You know what I'm saying? I'm like Maria Pappas. I stand by my offers.
Oh, I'm in love.
There you go. Well, our last and final segment this evening, as you guys all know, it is Relationship Thursday. And each and every week, I try to bring you just some of the best conversations ever about all different types of relationships. And so tonight, our very special guest co-host, Mr. Alan Tony Amberg, but we call him Tony. He's doing a great job hanging out with us tonight. And he actually brought this topic to the table. And I think it's really a great topic that needs to be had. We're in the midst of a pandemic right now. And for people who are single or, you know, maybe want to date somebody, it's just kind of hard. Tony, let's talk a little bit about the New York Times story and the fact that people are inundated with all of these dating sites. And then let's bring our guests in to join us on the conversation.
Well, it's so funny, you know, because the reason why I was thinking about this is when I talk to patients, what I hear them talk about is isolation. I hear them talk about loneliness. I hear them missing desperately connections with people. I don't hear them talking about dating at all. And then lo and behold, today in the New York Times, there's a story about how most of the resources that were put into testing and tracing for sexually transmitted diseases. Remember those when we used to have those?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
all of those resources have been moved into COVID. So now nobody's tracking the sexual behavior of what's going on. But what I found so interesting in that article is they referenced an article in the Business Insider. And, you know, it turns out one company owns about 60% of all the dating and pickup apps out there. one company, the Match Group, Match.com, but they also own OkCupid. They also own Tinder. They also own Hinge. They own a whole bunch of sites. And they've been going up and up and up. And most of those things are on Tinder. 60% of all their searches and memberships are on Tinder. They're having a record year.
Yes, they are.
So I'm trying to think about this question. What does it mean to be lonely? What does it mean to have a connection? What does it mean to have a connection that means something? So, and what does it mean in the year of the plague? So our guests tonight are from the Body Electric School. The Body Electric School was started back in the AIDS epidemic in San Francisco. And this was a response to the fact that so many people were getting sick, so many people were dying, people were afraid to touch each other. And so this whole response was evolved, and I'm going to let them tell you about what it is that they do.
All right.
I'm
going to pop Craig in first. There's Craig.
Hello.
Craig
How are
Cullinane
you?
is the executive director of Body Electric School, and I'm going to tell you a little about him.
Okay, I'm going to pop them all in so everybody's here. All right, here we go. Hello. Hello.
Hey, guys.
Welcome. Good to see you. All right, we have one more to add to the stream. And
No, we got them all.
Oh, is everybody there? Uh-oh, wait.
Just got knocked out.
It's slow on my end. I'm sorry, JoJo here. I'm going to have you back. It's slow on my end. There you go.
Okay. So let me introduce who we got.
Uh-oh. Tony just went away.
Oh, Lord, Tony disconnected himself. Well, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you all here tonight. As soon as we get Tony back, Craig, start off by introducing yourself, and then we'll go all the way around. Go right ahead. Welcome to the show.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chat Daddy, and thank you for having us on the show. My name is Craig Cullinane. I am the director of the Body Electric School and a faculty member, a teacher for the Body Electric School. I guess I'll pass it to Andres.
All right, very good. Let me move on over. Go right ahead.
Hi, Chat Daddy. My name is Andres Cordero. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. I basically am an enthusiast of Body Electric. Have been involved for 10 to 12 years, help coordinate programs. I'm also involved in providing services in Texas related to sexual health and wellness. So this is a part of this topic also. And then I'm also working on my PhD in California. So glad to be here.
Good. Glad to have you here. It's an honor and a pleasure. And last but not least, now, JoJo, are you on Instagram?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I think I follow you on Instagram. I think I do.
Many do.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jojo Bear, and I am a somatic sex and intimacy coach and a sex educator and one of the emerging faculty for the wonderful Body Electric School. So it's good to be here.
Yay, wonderful. So now for those that are not familiar with what the school is all about, tell us some of the things that one would learn from the school. Who wants to tell us about that?
I can start. So like Tony was saying, the school evolved in kind of a crucible of the intensity of the HIV epidemic in the 80s, mostly in San Francisco. This is where the work of the school evolved. And the founder of the school, Joseph Kramer, he was a seminarian who kind of left the seminary, and he wanted to create an experience that would allow people to heal and reintegrate. I guess the language he would use is their erotic and their sacred selves that had been damaged or harmed in some way by the experience of the AIDS epidemic. And so he developed a workshop that eventually became what we call Celebrating the Body Erotic. And this is a temporary intentional community that's created to explore what the school calls Taoist erotic massage. So using the system of energy, the way energy moves in our body, using breath work, using embodiment, process work to learn how to give and to receive erotic massage as a way to heal, to awaken, to build skills and add breadth to our erotic repertoire, both as someone who gives pleasure and someone who receives pleasure. And so these beautiful, beautiful workshops evolved over many, many decades. And now there's many different kinds of workshops, intensive 6 days on all kinds of topics. And so that's just a brief outline of the work of the school. I would leave it to Andres, Jojo, Tony. I mean, all of you are familiar, of course, and to add your thoughts to it if you want.
So I think the main thing is, rather than focusing on specific things right now, what are people talking about in terms of connecting to each other during the epidemic? I mean, it's the broader question is relating, finding meaning, connecting to each other.
That's a good question.
Good question. Yeah. I could talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I mean, it's I think right now in just with what's happening with everybody, everybody's nervous systems are just kind of whacked, with everything that's happening right now, and a lot of people are adjusting to being in such a historic place, right, where there's not as much contact, or people are doing contact and not really understanding the consequences of it. And so I think it's super important. It's super important that there's this dialogue and openness, a conversation around what are we noticing in our body? What are we noticing in our body? What our needs are, and what are our desires? And it can be as simple as just looking at someone in the eyes. It doesn't necessarily have to be, let's go out and do all the wine down 69, but it's around this kind of subtle experience, and it starts with us. It starts with each individual. So that's just what was on my mind.
So
Jojo,
yes,
Jojo, I'm not gonna lie to you. I do miss wine dying at 69. I do, but I just, I'll just sit here and relish in the moment of you trying to educate me. But I do miss that. Yes.
Well, Jojo, I want to pick up on something, because your background is also doing a lot of work with people who have been through sexual violence, sexual abuse. You do a lot of work on boundaries and consent. And this whole period of time, we were talking earlier about violation of boundaries, where, masks, social distancing. I mean, how we negotiate being in space with each other, maybe being afraid to say that we want to stay safe. What should we be thinking about in terms of consent to being, even just present with somebody, let alone being sexual with somebody?
I can answer, but if you guys have an answer coming out of here, you can, Andreas or Craig.
Go for it.
Yeah, no. So I think in regards to, when we're talking about consent, which is a really big topic, and it can be also a scary topic for a lot of people, because sometimes people misconstrue consent as like there are such rules and that's it. And consent is a lot more than that. Consent is just, it's about our relationship to our boundaries, and our domain, like who we are. And it takes a lot of communication. And I think being clear of what we need is the step. And so in regards to being in this COVID world, there are safer ways. You can meet up at a park and talk, right? You could be in outdoors and do stuff. You can find a pod of people. A lot of relationships are kind of re-engaging, and some relationships get separate, from sex and intimacy. And so there's lots of dialogue that's happening now. One of the best things that I've noticed is all of the resources that have been popping up online, like stuff that Body Electric does. There's many other organizations that do stuff online that get people to really drop into the body and communicate and ask, what is it that I need at this moment? What is it that I need? And I think it's the difference here now is that, for me, I'll speak for myself, is that pre-COVID, I was running around and I was so busy. And now I have a lot more time in my body. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. So I'm going to pass the ball.
So Craig, and Andres, I mean, either of you can pick this up. I mean, with so much anxiety and so much anger in the air, how is that impacting people's ability to relate to each other? I mean, I don't know. I mean, are people actually feeling the energy to feel romantic or sexy in the midst of all this emotion that's out there? And do you hear people talking about that?
I can jump in. So one of the things that I do is I coach individuals, and I had a client that she was actually communicating with someone. So she was trying to isolate and take care of herself, but she started this conversation with this person in her community, met him through a dating site, and they went through a lot of dialoguing and conversation and communication and sharing of thoughts and ideals. And then eventually, over, I believe it was several weeks, they came together. And so when she came to me, she said, I'm really struggling with this. I think this is this is so different and this is so odd. And I'm nervous about this. And I said, you just described the kind of path that we lose a lot of times when we use the apps, when we go for the hookup, when we just go for the sex. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Sex is wonderful. But she actually recognized that she was building relationship using the skills that maybe we had before we had these technologies, the whole courting and the romance and getting to know each other. So I thought it was fascinating when she was talking to me because she thought she had done it all wrong and it was really like a bad situation. And it's like, you actually did the right things. So I think that a lot of folks are starting to find that because we're having to put the brakes on the interactions with people, we're starting to dialogue more. We're starting to try to get to know each other more. We're starting to get to know ourselves a lot more and to step into being very clear and vocal about what it is that we want, right? Because if you're dialoguing with somebody over several days, you're going to get to the juice. You're going to want to talk about what you like and what you don't like. That builds the anticipation and the energy and the connection. So I'm seeing a lot of that happen.
Yeah, can I just I love this. It's so interesting, this conversation. Something that I've noticed. Of course, when COVID happened, all of our workshops where we teach how to give and receive this touch and how to help people come home to their own bodies and all of this work, we had to stop it, and so we had to immediately turn to all online workshops. And since March, we've just been doing online experiences, and it's been actually really amazing. Because first of all, of course, because we're all separated, there's such a longing for connection. And there's this hunger that people have to connect with each other. And of course we do, right? But what's been really interesting in terms of looking for the opportunity in COVID with this, the first thing that I'm noticing is that there's an opportunity and there's space for people to get into relationship with themselves again. What does my body feel? How do I experience my emotions? Like Jojo was saying, what are my needs? What are my desires? And we've been noticing in all of our online workshops that it's really about helping people connect with their own practice of self-pleasure and embodiment as a way to engage with pleasure. The idea that pleasure is healing. And if we're in this space of anxiety and communal and personal anxiety, and we're walking through that, and that has an impact on our bodies, that has an impact on our relationships, I can be in an intentional self-touch, self-pleasure practice to awaken pleasure in my body as a way to help heal, help dispel anxiety, help connect deeply with myself. And then, of course, the great question becomes, if I'm connecting deeply and authentically with myself, how does that inform how I connect with others? Because it always has to start there.
Oh, I love it. I do. I just think, eroticism plays a huge part in a lot of people. I hate for people to say, I feel no eroticism. Everybody should feel eroticism. It's a part of human nature.
And we pull apart the words sex and eros. That eroticism is about this energy of erotic energy that we can tap and spread, and that it can inform all parts of our lives, our creativity, our connections with other people, our work, our health. Of course, our sexual activity, but eros is more kind of this umbrella of energy that when we tap and we spread and we dance with it, it brings aliveness to all parts of our life.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like what you're really talking about is not better sex, but having a sexier life.
One thing that I always do in the classes I teach, I give an assignment, which is every day, go outside and walk down the street as if you are the sexiest guy or woman or whatever you are, the sexiest person on the street. Walk down the street feeling sexy in your body. And feel that, embody that, that aliveness, that possibility is within us now. We just need to welcome it and invite it and play with it.
So
okay, I agree 100%. Walking and talking like it's sexy, baby.
Like your
Yes.
sexy self, put on.
Yes. Go ahead, Tony.
Superfly on your whatever. Go for it. It's fun.
So, one of the things that I'm curious about is I remember I was on the radio in the late 90s, early 2000s when the internet was brand new. In fact, we were one of the very early shows that was streamed. And I remember having one guy talking about the internet and dating apps and things like that. And I'll never forget, he said to me, "You can order a pizza with any topping you like. Why shouldn't you be able to order a man that way?" And I was sort of mulling over all of the really bad examples out there of relationship stuff in the media, whether it's TV or pornography or really bad examples of how to relate, really bad examples of what our body image should be, really bad examples of how to be with other people. And I'm wondering if you could maybe break that down a little bit for us about what you think are some of the really wrong lessons that are out there in the media about relationship and being with other people.
I'll share real quick. And I think it's a great question, and I could probably take up 10 different, episodes. Because I work generally with a lot of men, and one of the biggest issues for guys is porn, right? And I am a firm believer that pornography and images and stuff is healthy. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But I categorize it as entertainment. It's just entertainment. It's something that is, it gives me a quick fix. It's like going to see a scary movie. I got scared. If I go see a concert, I know what I'm going to get. There's some results there. But I think it's really important that we remain teachable and educate others that that's not reality. That's not always reality. Even the amateur porn, that's not also reality. That's a segment in time. And I think it gives men and women this real high bar of whoa, like that, I'm not doing this right, or it doesn't feel right. And I really am in total belief that, I get confused sometimes of, I get to give pleasure, I get to receive pleasure. But I think the way I look at this specifically is that I'm experiencing pleasure. And so I have to be in that space of just of noticing, how do I experience pleasure, right? And so I think that's one of the biggest things that people are kind of forced to do right now, because we're in such a cavey state, right? That we have to go inward. And there's a lot of stuff that's keeping me busy in even in COVID land. I can get on Amazon, I can watch TV, I can do Netflix, but it's this opportunity to drop inside the body, to go inward, is nothing more precious than that. Because once I understand me, I can get with you. I can get with other people. And then getting back to that consent question you asked before, then I know what I need. I know exactly what I need, or not, and not what I think I need by someone else's creation. So that's my little
I like
stand.
I like it. I do. Tony, where are we with all of this? Anybody else?
Well, so I guess the question that I think we should come back to is, what are the lessons of a past plague for our present plague? And how do we use this to teach each other how to love? Craig, I was so struck when we were preparing the interview the other night. You said, we're here to teach each other how to love. And that's really what I want to know. How do we say to people, here's something you can do to teach love?
Andres, do you want
to? I guess what comes up for me is recognizing that we go through these significant, sometimes global low points. And in the concept of Tantra, right, there's nothing good and there's nothing bad. There's just everything in what it is. And often these experiences bring gifts. And, on the one hand, it's really upsetting that we are dealing with COVID and isolating, but we're also being forced to pause. And we're starting to look back and think about, what was it like before? And was that good? We were in a space of commoditizing bodies. We talk about the apps and the fact that you go through and you find the right hair color or the boobs or the dick or whatever. And we were losing the person. And I think in a lot of ways, these situations force us to look at our humanity and the fact that we are in a moment now where we recognize we're not going to be around for too long, right? We're going to die eventually, whether it's with this situation or not. So let's make it as big as we can. Let's make it as juicy as we can. Let's build, as Craig said, eroticism into all aspects of our lives. And so for me, it's guiding people through that. And, this pausing, this slowing down is a gift. And it's an invitation to really think about who we are, what we are inside of ourselves, how we connect with ourselves, and then be able to connect with someone else. And slowing down. That's something the school teaches a lot of, is that where a lot of people who identify as men go immediately to pleasure release, right? To ejaculation and so on and so forth. These teachings, these guidance, this program teaches you about just savoring moments and redefining what it is that connection means to you in a sexual or erotic context.
So Craig, what lessons about love do we learn from the last plague that we can apply to today?
that we need to
Can
be
apply.
that we need to be in this together, that we need each other, and then we need to think about how we treat each other. I think, I love, the Dalai Lama. What's my religion? It's kindness. That kindness is a practice. The compassion for others and ourself is a practice. And, when we talk about in Body Electric, and we talk about like teaching love, we're teaching how to care for another, to really have that experience of what does it mean to show up entirely with your attention and the gift of your attention to the needs and desires of another person, but then also to have the skill to welcome that for oneself, right? That I can offer love. I can do that. I can offer you love. and I can receive love, right? And part of it is like letting go of deflecting it, or all the ways we don't think we deserve it, or all the ways we have to tap into our essential worthiness, the truth of ourselves as worthy. But I think it's about healing in community. I think it's about how we treat each other and ourselves. And I think it's about the body as a portal for healing and transformation and pleasure, that we can sow the seeds of love in our own body. I like to do this one kind of self-soothing exercise that I show people and I guide people through, where it's basically like you're kind of touching your whole body, different places, and you breathe, and you're breathing and you're touching yourself, and you start to give yourself self-affirmations while you're touching yourself. So if I'm touching myself, I start saying to myself, I love you so much, Craig, and you're so good, and you're beautiful and healthy, and yes, you do these things that you judge, but you're still beautiful, and I love you. So I'm touching myself. I'm planting seeds through a practice of affirmation into my own body. Those kinds of things, I think, plant seeds of love that emanate from us and give us the opportunity to express that towards others powerfully.
So,
wait, hold on, Tony, real quick. I'm gonna need a cigarette after that, Craig. That was really nice. That was really nice. I lost myself there for a minute. I digress. Go ahead, Tony.
You can start, Catherine. You can start.
What can I say?
All right.
Okay, I jumped a little too fast there. I'm sorry. But I think and I'm just going to add one more thing to that, and that is, if it's just occurring to me now, if there's one lesson that we remember from those battle days when people were dropping dead from HIV, and I remember those days in 1987 where we thought we were all going to die, and there were many, many, many of us dying, and what came out of that was a whole new kind of medicine. Yes. And a whole new way of caring for people, and a whole new set of solutions, and a whole new way of being okay to be queer in the world, and a whole new way of rebuilding, and whole new ways of delivering medicine, because of course it wasn't a gay disease, but caring for mothers in South Africa and in Uganda and in other parts of the world. And and say what we like, President W did a lot of things that were not so great, but the United States reached out and eradicated a huge amount of HIV in other parts of the world with that leadership and presidents that followed. And we have to remember, out of this plague too, something amazing will happen for all of us together if we only give it a chance. We will rebuild. The restaurants will reopen. The theaters will reopen, because they always do. And we will walk hand in hand together and with each other again. We're going to do it, folks. Yeah. Just got to get through this. So Chat Daddy, where do we go from here? Do we thank our guests? Do we keep talking? What do we do?
No, you've done a great job. All of you have just been wonderful. I'm getting so many text messages. I do have a large female older lady population that follows this show, and the ladies are just wondering, about. Oh, we do. We are wondering about all of these cougar ladies who are my friends. That they are worried and nervous about when will we ever get back to normal sex again. I mean, this segment tonight is so beautiful because you're teaching everybody to relate to themselves. But as one of the ladies texted me and said, she's in need of a good man, but she's so afraid. So, maybe Andreas can help us with that. Somebody,
Or what we haven't mentioned is that you have women's programs, right?
We do. We have women's, we have all genders, we have programs for all people. I want to say during this time, a nice place to start with sex is to, be intentional about setting up some time for some self-pleasure in your life. Like light a candle and get some flowers and put on good music and incense for yourself, your own sex date with your own body. Begin with that beautiful, loving connection there. and see if some of those needs for connection and desire may be met through that as we wait until we can do it more safely. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Andre, anyway, go ahead.
Hey, let me jump in.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, so you know, this is obviously a time to be very cautious and careful about, you know, who it is that you choose to connect with. And there are lots of resources available with different organizations. One of the things that is suggested is that if you have someone that you have been intimate with in the past, and you feel that you can trust them and you can set agreements with them about your interaction with them, then having, depending upon how it is you live your life, having one lover with you or a small group perhaps, and staying within that. There's articles being written about creating pods in the same way that I think the New York Times wrote an article about creating mini pods of families to be together. Well, in the sexual realm, a lot of that is happening as well. So there's a small tribe, if you will, of people that come together and they make the agreements that they will stay inside that circle, they will get tested regularly, and they will make themselves available sexually if that's something that they want to pursue. I will tell you, working in sexual health and wellness, people are still very sexually active. We see a lot of
That's
patients.
what I was told.
Yeah. I mean, and in some ways, the anxiety wins out.
Yeah.
And people are at a point now where it's like, I don't care because I need this. And we're human beings, right? We do need that. We need that connection and that intimacy. So making use of resources, visiting doctors, getting on PrEP, for example, or being tested for HIV regularly. And I will also leave it to, for me, there are lots of creative ways to be erotic without being fully sexual. There are toys, there are fantasies that you can have. So I think one of the beautiful things that's happening too is people are finding, I want to say they're freak, but really what I mean essentially is that they're realizing they have a larger repertoire of ways to be sensual, erotic, and sexual with other people. So they have to be creative about it. And so, and there's some really cool stuff that's happening. People are awakening to things that they probably wouldn't have considered before because they were kind of stuck in that rut of doing the same thing all the time. So I'm sure Jojo has a lot also to add to this because I know he does a lot of this kind of work also.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is also, for all the gals out there that are looking for it, is that, I think back to when, and it's still going on, but like when I was terrified of HIV and AIDS, like, there was the whole safe sex and, and there was all this responsibility of like, okay, I want to get laid, but this could happen. And so I think right now, there is so much resources for COVID. Like I'm in California, you can get free testing, right? So just really plan out, get to know. It's what Andreas was talking about before. It's okay to court somebody. It's okay to like talk with someone. There's a 14-day period where you guys could just talk. Maybe get tested, find out.
I agree.
Get the antibody test. You could still have some pleasure in your life just doing it responsibly, because this is a community disease. This isn't just a certain nation or a certain person. This is a community disease. We can all get it. So so it's very familiar to the AIDS and HIV. But it's also like now it is like a Russian roulette. Everybody can get this, and so just doing it responsibly. And I've heard some horror stories of people just going out on the apps and then getting tested positive for COVID. And so it's happening for having sex. Just do it responsibly. There are ways that if that is your desire and you need to do that, do it in a way that, how is it going to affect my community? Just think of it in that way. And I wish people were thinking about that more. I mean, wish our country was thinking about that more, because it affects the whole world. This disease really does affect the whole world.
Yeah. And I just want to put a plug in again for a robust self-pleasure experience and practice, because guess what? One of the things we talk about in Body Electric is that how do we reclaim our entire body as an erotic organ? How can I pleasure myself in such a way that I surprise myself by what my body likes and feels? The typical person in this country self-pleasures either not at all or maybe for less than 5 minutes. But there is a massive world of pleasure that can happen if we just be intentional about taking some time and maybe, learning a couple things. And that's just so rich. And hunger gets met that way. And that's useful now.
I just want to add one other thing here. We may have different manifestations of our body. We typically think of women and men. They're the same tissues in the end. So learning about pleasure with yourself gives you an opportunity to up your skills. And so once you are with someone, whether it's a female or a male, however it is that they identify, it's kind of fun to to explore those same areas in others. So it is. It's sort of like a pause and a learning opportunity. How do you connect with yourself? And then what are those gifts that you might be able to offer someone once it becomes safer, or if you decide to pursue it sooner and do it in a responsible way so that you're taking care of each other. And that's what it's about.
And we're seeing on the bottom of the screen now the website for the Body Electric School. As you can see, folks, we have 3 guests, and they have a staff of people, women and men, programs in Israel and Canada and Australia. And these are places to go have these conversations. I mean, you've just had a taste of it here. So let me say thank you to Craig Cullinane, who's the executive director. He's in upstate New York, and Andres Cordero, who has joined us from Texas, and Jojo Bear, who has joined us from Oakland, California. Thank you, 3 lovely, lovely men, to remind us that that the world is still waiting for us.
Yes.
And that being together with other people and ourselves in ways that are healthy and are not using each other and don't violate each other, and that satisfaction in the human connection is still the greatest gift. Mm-hmm. So what do you think, Chat Daddy?
I want to throw down the gauntlet here. I want to throw down the gauntlet here and say, Chat Daddy, I want to invite you to a Body Electric workshop on the house.
Okay.
When you get back to in-person workshops, you come, and then you come back on the show, you tell everybody what it was like.
Look, you got me 100%. I was telling Tony earlier,
you are our guest,
had you guys ever heard about the Power Exchange in San Francisco?
Yes.
So Chad Daddy is very familiar. So I would love to. Yes, right. The Power Exchange in San Francisco is someplace that I've been. So yes, anything. I'm a Scorpio. My birthday is in 2 weeks. So yes.
What's the day?
November 16th. It's a national holiday.
Oh, it's a good day.
We do have that flavor of workshop too.
Really? The Scorpio? Yes, I love it.
No, okay, folks. We're going to save some of this for another show too.
Thank you, Tony. You are amazing. God bless you guys. Thank you so very much. Have a beautiful night.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a great night. This was great. Thank you. Pleasure. Absolutely. Tony, I love it. You know exactly what to do, when to do, and how to do it, my friend. You are amazing. Yay.
Oh my gosh. Shucks.
Tony, we need to take this show on the road. Ebony and Ivory, we could do this.
You know what? I'm there for you. I'm there for you.
I do. I love it. You are amazing. Tony, in closing, what do you want to say to all of these beautiful people? And plug your new business if you could.
Okay, sure. So, folks, I have a private practice. It's if you're somebody who's struggling with a mental health or substance abuse problem, I do psychiatric services. I manage medicine. I do therapy. You can find me at Psychology Today or at alantonyamberg.com. And one of the things about it is it's not an insurance-based practice. The reason for that is that I want to spend lots of time with you, getting to know you, working with you. If you have therapists, if you have pharmacists, if you have people you need me to call, and that's not really doable on the insurance-based model. So if that's something where you have some money and you'd like to invest it in yourself and in your mental health, alantonyamberg.com. That's my website. There's a little bit more about me there. I'm also a speaker and a trainer, and I do some corporate consulting work. So, that's all in addition to my full-time job.
But you do it all, my friend.
It's been such a joy to be here with you. This is what it's all about. This is, as I said, so much of the community media is on the ropes right now. And so being here with you and being with this is just a joy, absolute joy. So thank you so much.
Brother, I appreciate every moment we spent together tonight. You will be back. I put your website across the ticker for everybody to get in touch with you if they need to. And all I'm saying is you've got to promise to come back and hang out with me again.
Please.
All right. Let's talk very soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chat Daddy.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alan Tony Amber, our wonderful, great Amber, our wonderful guest co-host tonight. He did an outstanding job, wonderful segment about pleasure. That segment it was excellent, Tony. Great job. All of my Scorpio friends are like, yep, they're talking about us now. So we love it. Have a great night. You and your partner be safe and stay well, okay?
Okay. Take care.
Thank you. See you later. Talk to you soon. All right. So we've come to the end of yet another amazing show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I'll be back on Monday night. Another great show for your viewing and listening pleasure. On Tuesday evening, we will not be on. It's election night. We want everybody to watch the results as they come in on television. But Wednesday night, we'll handle all the coverage of the election 2020. Do me a favor, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy Show. It's very easy, simple. It's free. It does not cost you anything, and it would help me out a great deal. As well as on Facebook, Real Chat Daddy Show on Facebook. I love you guys. I promise you I'll be back. Great show. Our co-host was amazing tonight. Thank you guys so much for all the feedback. Have a safe, wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.